I couldn't open the one. I don't think I sent the one from Christoph because I couldn't open.
For you, what has the overall project been about?
I think that this project is about understanding the history of orchestral music at Oklahoma City University and kind of building a narrative of the musical history that we have as orchestral musicians at this school.
What was your specific topic on, or what did your group do?
My group looked into Ray Luke, who was one of the early people to build the orchestral music program. He wore a lot of hats in the school here. He conducted the band, he conducted the orchestra, he conducted some of the choirs. He was composer in residence for a long time. He taught conducting classes. He really kind of was the core of the music program here for a long time.
Out of everything you researched, what was probably the most interesting thing to you?
Well, I did an interview with Parthena Owens, who's our flute professor, who studied with Ray Luke, and kind of hearing some of the stories about who he was as a person, in addition to just kind of the archival information that we had, I thought was interesting.
So, what's one thing you can take away from this project?
I think we don't necessarily have a very long history of orchestral music at this school. It's been less than a century that we've even had an orchestral program, but just being able to see how the program was built, where we started, where we've come from, and the connections that the school has had to the community around us, to the orchestral music in the city.
Experience.
I don't know. I think probably what was most interesting was seeing how the symphonic history linked itself with the history of musical theater. Obviously, musical theater is just like what the school is known for, and it was cool to see that musical theaters has existed almost as long as the school has existed here.
Moving forward in your career, what skills that you used in this process can you apply to future life?
Right. I'm actually interested in moving forward in musicology. I'm going to start applying for programs for PhDs in musicology in the fall. It's been really cool to get this entry into archival work, just going through the archives, having to really look at first generation resources and having to compile your own history instead of just looking through books and making understanding ideas that other people have put forth, but putting forth your own ideas about collected resources.
What was your specific kind of topic in this project?
Specifically, I was looking at programs, so I had to basically go through every single program that ever existed, try and find all of the symphony orchestra programs, and see what's interesting about them.
From what you were researching, what did you find the most interesting?
Well, the first program that I found, I think, was probably the most interesting. Actually, Christoph found it, not me, but not the point. So the most interesting thing was that one. It kind of seemed like it set up a lot of future events for that one. I think it was in 1937, I want to say. And it had it started off with Clarence Berg being featured in it, and it's like as a soloist. I mean, he conducted it, and then he kind of passed it off, and yeah.
What's the biggest thing you can take away from having done this project?
Well, I got a lot of insight on how archives work, how to do a lot of research with them. So I think that's something I got a lot out of.
So this project is more about what an archive can show and what stories are possible in an archive. And, from a musicologist perspective, this is like bread and butter of what we do. We're trying to think, well, what is the story there? And having to kind of assemble from the basic elements that we find to create a narrative. And for our purposes, I think there's some innovative things that have been happening at Oklahoma City University when it comes to orchestral music that maybe we've forgotten in light of other things that are more recent. And so I'm really interested to see what stories draw attention to an innovative history with the orchestra, and I think we've already found some interesting surprises, and kind of the pursuit of information as you just keep lifting up rocks and seeing what's underneath it is maybe tedious on some level, but it also is rewarding when you find something really interesting.
What was one of the most interesting things you've learned throughout this process?
So I've been really impressed with the group being able to work together because this is a surprising and experimental strategy. I've never done this before here, and I think we've found some challenges, like the archive is limited. There's not a whole lot that's been cataloged because the information is pretty vast. A lot of people haven't asked these kinds of questions, and so I've been really impressed with the students kind of being willing to just go with that and experience the challenges and just keep trying and seeing what we can tilt toward. And I'm impressed with the group. I think everyone's going to split the duties responsibly, and it seems like everyone's going for what the best they can do to try to accomplish what we can in a finite amount of time, and hopefully lay the groundwork for people in the future to pick this information up and continue on this work.
Hi, I am the Archivist and Special Collections Librarian here at the Delaney Brown Library at Oklahoma City University. My name is Christina Wolf.
So watching the students kind of dig through the archives and explore with free reign, what was the most interesting thing that you found out through them researching?
Some of the Ray Luke information and also the Clarence information. I haven't really had a chance to delve into Clarence personal papers, and so it was very fun to see the students going through there and finding, biographical information and information about Clarence time here at the university.
How did you feel about a bunch of graduate students coming in and just working together with stuff that they've never had to deal with before? Was it comfortable, kind of an uneasy of, oh no, what's going to happen with these?
Oh, it was very fun. I'm not used to having 15 to 16 researchers in the reading room at the same time. Usually, it's one or two, maybe maximum 3 at a time. But it was quite fun, and we were able to, I think, accommodate everyone. It just got very loud.